External forms. Let's go to see a few examples in the application. To have access to the external forms, we have two options. Using an action button or through an external form element that we are going to see in a minute. Let's see how they work in execution. So if we go to a process, we're going to see first how the action button works. So how we can do this with a button. So if I add here an account, what it does is like gonna check the articles family, and also it's gonna check the account I put here. So it's going to show me the articles of the account I add here. So let's choose, for example, a supplier like, I don't know, Cadisa. Okay, and if I click here, okay, I can see that it has gone to the articles, okay, and it's showing me directly the ones, okay. Now, if we go to the settings to see how this has been configured, the action button, we can see that the action we added here is external form. In here, we can see 4 options. We are going to see them, all of them, in a minute. This is the first one. We are seeing own family's query. And here we can see that we chose the articles family. We also can see that we added a filter. In this case, it will be origin panel field, okay, account. So obviously it will take into account this own family and this, okay? Well, own family or family of records, it's the same. Okay, save and exit. So this will be the same as if I go here, families of records, articles, okay, and then I filter through the account. So if I were to Cadisa, proceed, okay, we have the same thing. It's just we did it a lot quicker with the button. Okay, if we go back here, okay, and we go back to the form, we can see, if we go to settings, that we can do this directly with the external form element that we find here. Let's see the differences between using one thing or the other. And it is that we can combine actions when using a button. Here we can combine actions, as I mentioned before. So apart from opening the external form, I could have added other actions, okay? As we saw before, some of the buttons had several actions, and that's the main difference. Let's continue seeing the possibilities of the external form. So if we go to this one, Google search, and we open the configuration, we can see here that we have chosen the first option, URL, and we have added here the right one, okay? We also chose destination. It could be in the form or in a new window. We selected a new window, and we also need here to add a parameter. In this case, we added Q, the parameter Q, and an original panel field that will be a one-line text field. So the content I add to this field is going to be sent to the parameter Q, so it opens Google Maps. So let's go to execution to see how it works. So let's go back to execution, okay? And as we said before, this was the field we had to use, the one-line text. So here I'm gonna add an address. I'm gonna click in Google search. It will take us to the right place. Okay, we do this through the value we add in the field in the form, in the one-line text. Now we are gonna see in settings the second option. So we have seen the first option, and the fourth. Okay, and now we're going to see the second one, URL in panel field. Here I choose the field I want to use in the form. Okay, so I will have to add the URL in this field. We can also add parameters. Let's go to see how it works in execution. So as we said, we will have to add the URL here in the reasons field. So let's add one. Okay, so if I click into library, I can see that it has gone to the right library. Okay, and I can see all the documents. And where did I get this URL? I went to structure, libraries, to the right library. In this case, it was reports. And if we go to grids configuration, we can see an option here that says access URL. So I will have to just click here to copy it. And then it will be a matter of pasting it. In the reasons field. So this is how you configure the URL in a panel field option. So let's go now to settings to see the other option, which is libraries in dictionary query. To configure this option, we also need to add a filter, destination label, in this case text 2, that is the same as revise, and origin panel field that will be approved. Okay, so depending on what we choose here, okay, as we can see here, we chose reports not revise. We will see this in a minute. So let's go to execution to see how it works, because it's a bit less confusing. So we chose this field, okay, approved. So depending on what we choose here, we select here, when we click in the library consultation, it will show us some elements or others. So for example, you choose approve yes, and I click on the library consultation, okay, I'll have only the elements that have yes in the revise field. Okay, if I did the same, choosing no this time, then I will have the ones that haven't been revised, or if it's empty. Okay, if we go to structure, public queries, we can see here reports not revised. And if I go here, libraries in dictionary, I can see that I chose the report library. And in grids configuration, in here we can see the labels name, description, version, type, and revise. This last label is the one I'm going to use to send the information to the approve field. So if we go back to the form, as we said before, if we select yes and click here, we will have the ones that have been approved, and no, it will do the same. This would be the same as if I went to documents, reports, okay, and I filter here through revise. So if I click on yes, proceed, again, I will have the ones that revise yes, and if I added no, the ones that have no or is empty. Okay, so it's exactly the same. Let's go back to the form. So now we have seen all the different possibilities to configure external forms. Okay, we saw 4 options. The first action using a button, okay, this articles family button, and in configuration we selected the family of records, that in this case were articles, and we configured the filter, that was the account. Okay, the second option, the URL option, that we have in Google search. Okay, here we added the URL of the external website and the parameter Q, and in this case the external website was Google Maps. Another option was to add the URL to a panel field, and in this case we chose to use the reasons field. Okay, we just had to add here the URL and then click in library, and we could go. And the last option, libraries in dictionary query, okay, where we added some filters, etc. So we related in this case with approve and the label revise. And this shall be all for the external forms.